All right, so as you probably have noticed, Mr. H is not here. That's okay. I'm doing the screencast so you know what to do, and there is a helpful teacher at the front. His name is Mr. Sorbetti. Everybody wave at Mr. Sorbetti. There he is. Hey, Mr. Sorbetti. Thanks for helping out, bud. Anyway, so we have three do nows in the classroom, like always. Once you're done answering those three questions, we'll give you about 5 minutes to answer those three questions. Answer them in classroom. Sorbetti will pause the video so you can answer those three, and we'll come right back after you've gotten all three of those answered. Okay, so now that we're back looking at the do now, question number one says, at a convergent plate boundary, what type of rock would form? So you have to think about the convergent plate boundary, the direction that the plates are headed, which should be together. So that should be creating a regional metamorphic rock. Number two, what does the root IGN, like ignite or igneous, mean? That would be fire. And then finally, what type of rock would have both grains and crystals? We know it can't be an igneous rock because of the grains, and the only other option for a rock that can have crystals that grow are actually going to be from a contact metamorphic. So that's going to be my answer there. The home learning, don't worry about the quiz redo. I'll explain what that is momentarily. Well, actually, probably like in 10 minutes or so, but I'll get to it eventually. Documents that you need for today, you do need your geology outline, and you need the document called the Rock Cycle Journey, both of which have been posted. So let's get started. By the end of today, you should be able to explain how one rock can turn into another rock. There actually are a couple of vocab words, but it's like melting and temperature. So if you don't remember what those are, you should probably look them up before we go. Starting off as always, three something cools. This is a cave system in New Zealand. It's actually, they've got lots of them. This particular one has a little river that runs through it. And you could do something called black water rafting, which is where they give you an inner tube and basically you can just kind of float through these different caverns. You can notice on the roof, there are all these sort of lights that look like almost like fireflies. And that's actually a type of worm that glows. Their rear end glows to attract some insects to them. And then they have this little sort of silk piece that they dangle down with some mucus to be able to trap the insects, which they then eat. It is kind of fun, though. You just kind of float through the caves themselves, and it's almost as if you're like in a night sky. It's pretty cool. Check it out if you have the time. Second, something cool. This little critter is a species of praying mantis known as the orchid mantis. It folds itself up to resemble an orchid flower, and then it sits on the end of a leaf or at the end of a stalk to fool its prey. It's pretty amazing how quickly praying mantis can strike. They have the ability to reach their front ends, the front arms out and skewer their prey at speeds of about 0.03 seconds. Like they can launch themselves out and grab it in less time than it takes for you to blink, so you can't even really see it. So those things are crazy. Third, something cool. A lot of students and just people in general just have no idea how large the continent of Africa actually is. It is massive. Like you could see here, you could fit the entirety of the United States, all of China, India, all of Eastern Europe in there. Even Madagascar down in the corner there is the size, roughly as the same size as the UK. So there's a lot. It's a lot bigger than a lot of people think. If you're flying from the very East Coast, basically where California is in the United States there, all the way over to the west coast of Ethiopia. Vice versa. The East Coast is India, and the West Coast there is the United States. That distance basically takes you 10 hours of flying time. It's a ridiculous large body of land to try to wrap your head around. So anyway, those are the three something cools. All right. Good news and bad news. Good news is we're coming to the end of basically what we've been talking about the last couple of class periods, so dealing with rocks, and today we'll look at the rock cycle. Bad news is there's going to be a little bit of a quiz that you're having today towards the end of the period, and you'll get some more information about that momentarily. Pop quiz. But we do have to finish the last little section from our unit outline dealing with the rock cycle, specifically with how rocks change. So if you scroll down to the section that says how do rocks change, clickety clickety, and it'll pull you down to this section. I think you have a couple of more terms, deposition, cementation, compaction. But remember, we moved those up to the sedimentary level, so there should only be those couple. And the first thing that we're going to actually start off with is this little diagram right here. So basically what we have is just a little chart. If you double click on it, it's a drawing, so you can type in texts. And all I want is the group of words, word or group of words, that helps to describe what's happening. For example, to change an igneous rock into a little piece of sediment, there's only one or two things that are happening there. The first is, which is going to be, well, the rock's got to be weathered, because remember, weathering is breaking down. You could also probably argue that erosion has to take place to move it to sediment. But for sure, you should have weathering. So all these other boxes need to be filled in with something. The words or descriptions you can grab from your outline. If you want, there is a little link here. If you click on it, it'll give you a little animation just showing you how rocks cycle through everything. Goes and there are little arrows and talks about how things are happening. So you can use that as a resource if you don't remember. So that's the first thing that you're going to be doing, filling that out. And let's see, I'll probably give you about 6 minutes to do that. You can work with your table. In fact, I suggest working with your table. And we'll pause the video again, and we'll see you at the end of 6 minutes. Okay, go. Cool. And now that you are back, we got the answers that you should be looking for. Did I put the answers? I did. Sweet. So you should have something similar. We did the weathering and erosion. A metamorphic rock can change to a sediment, or a sedimentary rock can change to a sediment through the same process, so weathering/erosion. To make a sedimentary rock, you got to basically then take deposition, compaction, and cementation, squish them all together. Heat and pressure can create a metamorphic rock from sedimentary as well as from an igneous, so you should have heat and pressure there. To change into an igneous rock, you got to melt and become mantle first. And from there could be cooling and crystallization to actually form the rock itself. By the way, this diagram, don't be surprised if it shows up on an assessment, a test. It's a good thing to know. It helps with the whole idea. So the main idea behind all of this, these diagrams that we're playing around with today, is that any rock can change into any other kind of rock through these processes that we've kind of talked about. So metamorphics can change into sedimentaries, igneous can change to sedimentary, metamorphic can change into igneous, So all of those different processes, those are what you've got to be able to explain to help show me that you know how rocks change from one form to the other. There's a second little bit that I'd like you to do as well. Same thing with your table. You can talk about where those words are going to show up. I think it's a little bit farther down here. Where is it? That one. So it's a drawing as well. You double click on it and you can drag things around. And you just have to try to find out where those words are going. And again, we'll give you about 6 minutes for that. And we'll pause the video. That'll work. All right, and now that you're back, let's see, we're not going to give you the answers to that one necessarily. Hopefully you were able to figure out where those things all kind of fell into place. All right, before we go any further, there is a quiz that you are going to be taking. It is going to be posted in your email. Mr. Sorbetti is going to email out the link to the quiz itself. You can fill it out. There are 20 multiple choice questions. Do your best on it. If you get done early, you can just start reading through the second document that we have, the Rock Cycle Journey. 20 multiple choice questions. The good news is this: if you don't do as well as you had hoped on the multiple choice, there is going to be an option for you to do something at home instead. If you did poorly on the quiz. So you're going to just have to check your score in PowerSchool to see if you may want to redo that quiz afterwards. So for the quiz, we're going to give you 20 minutes to do that. And then we will come back at the end of those 20 minutes and we'll explain the next section. So see you then. Okay. Now that you're back, I have to move on to the actual activity today. So what it is that we're going to be doing for the next class periods is creating a story about Gary and Larry. Let's see actually how much time I have left. It looks like I got 10 minutes. Maybe I'll have to do the explanation in the second video. Yes, I think that is what I'm going to do. Okay, I'll be right back.